Tja! Det här är jag som har lite semester. Och det är faktiskt så att hela gänget i Track and Talk har tagit semester den här veckan. För att fan, det förtjänar vi. Vi slet hårt under VM, så lite semestervecka. Men det blir ju såklart ett avsnitt ändå. Och då har vi en liten special som vi spelade ju faktiskt under Bauhausgalan-veckan. Så Gustav satt ner med en för detta världsrekordhållare och pratade en bra stund. Sjukt nördigt avsnitt det här, men här får ni. Varsågod, Kevin Young.
It's an honor for you to be with us, Mr. Kevin Young.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's an honor actually to be here in Stockholm. This is like the actual diamond meet. I was talking to some when the hurlers were getting interviewed early in the day. I remember when I was running here in Stockholm, this was the diamond meet.
Yeah,
you know,
the one you wanted to win.
It was the one you wanted to win. They gave the diamonds. This was the meet to get your diamond.
Yeah. For the stadium records.
Yeah, for the stadium before the Wanda Diamond League circuit. So it's actually very special, a very special meet, I guess you'd say, here in the whole category of the Diamond League series.
Yeah.
If you look at it from a historical perspective with the Diamond and now the overall Diamond League. So those are my memories of coming to Stockholm. And year in and year out, I was like, if you come here and break a meet record, you get a diamond.
Yeah,
because I was on Santa Monica Track Club, so Carl Lewis and those guys are always here, and I was right there tagging along with them. And then my matriculation in the sport happened, and then actually coming. I never won a diamond, but I've always enjoyed myself while coming here.
Yeah, we spoke earlier. You ran in the 90s, in the Olympic year of 92, but you have some not so fond memories from the home stretch.
Oh yeah, I remember I knocked over a hurdle, and I knocked over the barrier, and I landed on the wood part. And I remember when I landed on it, I twisted my ankle real bad, or my heel of my foot. That's what it was. I struck it real hard. I twisted my ankle, and I remember finishing the race. I believe Tor Zellner, a good friend of mine, he ended up winning the race. And obviously, a shock to the crowd and all that, but I was like, oh, what did I do to my ankle?
Yeah.
Foot. Oh.
What happened?
I misjudged the hurdle. Because, and on the track in the past, to me, it was you get out the turn real fast and there's a long straightaway. And then you just kind of try to keep your competitors at bay. But to be honest with you, this was the meeting. Stockholm was the meeting where I developed or discovered my race strategy that I implemented in Barcelona.
Yeah,
I definitely
for the Olympics '92.
For the Olympics in '92.
But how did that pan out?
Oh, I won that race.
You won the race.
But
the coming weeks with your ankle, how did you deal?
Oh, no, that was 2 different times.
Yeah, it was 2 times.
Yeah, I think the second time may have been after 90, maybe even after 93.
Yeah,
because it had to have been after 93 because I wasn't injured going into Stuttgart for that World Championship year. So it was at least my third appearance.
Yeah, that's 93, I think, in Stuttgart.
Yeah, I did the World Championship. So it was my third appearance in here in Stockholm was after the World Championship year. So it had to have been somewhere 94, maybe 95 around there. And I didn't win the race at all, but I had, like I said, the experience alone was great. But I mentioned earlier, I remember in 92, coming to this meet, and that's when I actually developed or kind of locked in on my race strategy. Because what ended up happening, the race got underway, I got out fast, and I know Sam had a pretty good finish. But what I remember doing, what I did was, I went 12 steps for hurdles 4 and 5, just to put a little separation, and that's what I was thinking in the race. Just to put a little separation between myself and the field comfortably, because I knew I was going to have some issues coming home on the last straightaway, because in my head I'm like, okay, I know this track has long. You come out of the turn real quick, and then you got this long straightaway till you get to the finish line. And I remember I put about 8 meters up on Matete, because Matete had just won the World Championships the previous year, and I put about 8 meters on him. And what eventually happened was he was closing in on me, but we basically ran out of real estate. The race was over with, and I was like, oh, if I do that, if I'm able to, go 12 for hurdles 4 and 5 and give myself 4 to 5 extra, meters on the field. I just have to be fit enough to finish the race and keep that 8-meter cushion.
Yeah.
At least the 8-meter cushion within the race. And that happened for me, like I mentioned earlier, here in Stockholm. So that was like the light bulb moment. I was like, okay. And so I actually went back to the States with John Smith, and I mentioned it to him. And so that actually became our game plan for running.
So cool. And happy for you to have that memory of Stockholm.
Oh, yeah.
Because you turned out later to be the world record holder for 29 years.
Exactly.
Until it got broken at the Bergkarstenvarholm.
Yeah.
The Norwegian Viking. How was it to be a world record holder for almost 3 decades? Because not all world records stand for that long.
That's true. You know what? I was surprised that the record actually stood for that long. I saw over my, being a spectator, watching the race, a fan of the sport, watching athletes that I figured were far more talented than I was. Athletes like Angelo Taylor, athletes like Karan Clement, individuals who had, the perspective a lot of times what we look at when we're comparing the races, anybody who has a really fast 400-meter time, and I think Angelo's fastest 400 was 44:09. Karan's fastest 400 may have been 44:03.
Yeah.
And my fastest quarter was 45:11. So looking at that in perspective, in my mind, I'm like, well, these guys, should be breaking the record anytime soon. And that wasn't the case. So I got 5 years, I got, 10 years, I got 15 years. And so it just kind of was a countdown.
Yeah.
But when it finally got broken, I mentioned bittersweet, but I was happy for whoever were to break the record, and Carson did a wonderful job. I actually saw the premonition of the record getting broken in August of 2019 when the two of those guys, Roy Benjamin and Carson, had met up at the Vel class meeting. Right?
Yeah.
And I watched that race, and those guys were on pace, and I'm going, the record's going to get broken today. It's getting it's going to get broken.
Now is the time.
Now's the time. And then Carson faltered on the last 2 hurdles. He went 15 going home. Rye faltered on the 9th hurdle. He went 14 instead of 13, and they went from the pace in which they were going to break the world record, to having those little anomalies. And Carson ran 46:92. Rye ran 46:98, and I stood in the stands and I rubbed my forehead like, whew.
Close call.
Close call.
Too close call.
And then I said, okay, well, another thing when going back a little further with Rye, when Rye ran 47.02 at the NCAA championships in Eugene, Oregon around 2017.
Yeah,
maybe?
around 2017.
When he did that, I said, okay, because Carson hadn't even run anywhere that fast.
No.
And so it was basically, we're all looking at Samba, Rye, and who else was there running? It was someone else, but it was Samba first with the 98 that he ran in France that one World Championship year, and I think Rye had ran 1998. I think it was a Paris meeting, and knowing that Rye was a hurdler running sub 22nd 200 meters, I'm going, oh, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Carson just pretty much comes out of nowhere. I'm gonna say out of nowhere, because Carson did win a world championships in the hurdles.
2017 in London.
But the fact that watching Rye run, the old world record by the great Edwin Moses in a collegiate race, I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. You could see it coming.
Definitely see it coming. And then De Santos, that guy.
Yeah.
Where did he come from?
Yeah, but there are so many that does so many good times, or 3 of them at least.
Exactly, because the fact that so many sub 47-second times. I know how hard it is just to try to, run in the 47.5 neighborhood. And these guys are running out. I mean, for Carson even to open up the season with a 47.28, that is mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
And for those, I guess, purists of the 400-meter hurdles, we know how difficult and hard that is. And people who are just fans of the sport now and don't know the history of it, they think that's a casual walk in the park with these guys.
Yeah.
And they don't realize how incredible those feats are. And they're normalizing things that are so incredible. I think that's what I see in the sport.
Oh.
And I just actually, and the cool piece is actually with these guys being the elite of the elite in that hurdle race, and the de facto number is always 46 what at this point in time. I became relevant really after the
Yeah.
29 years, because like you mentioned earlier, it became dormant. It's like, okay,
Yes.
whoever's going to, who's that next intermediate hurdle to challenge the record? And since no one really wasn't really challenging it, no one really was thinking about it.
No.
So the buzz definitely went away.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you just see this rise in the talent level of the event. And then that's when folks were saying, well, and asking me questions. Who do you think going to break your record? I'm like, I don't know. I thought these guys were, but
Yeah.
it's a crapshoot. It's throw that you just
Yeah.
throw them up in the air and let it land. But now, with these guys running, you really never know what's going to happen, because I see the Santos. He's he's 2 meters tall, stride length like this, very talented. I'm loving it.
Yeah. 400-meter hurdles are at a great place right now.
And the ladies, and the ladies. I'm a big Femke Bol fan.
Yeah.
A huge Femke Bol fan.
Sydney with all her
Sydney
great times.
with her greatness,
Yeah.
But like, since I live here in Europe, I get an opportunity to see Femke all the time on on television, on the TV. So when I'm always plugged in all the Diamond League races.
Yeah.
And I'm just looking, and even like the young lady Jaeger from Norway, the Guatemala. I've been watching. It's so crazy since I've been here, just watching the careers of these young athletes, at least over the last 5 or 6 years. And actually, I personally, like I said, I share their experience internally, watching them, be defeated, get better, go through injuries.
Yeah.
I sit back and I recall all those periods of time when I was a young hurdler running throughout Europe in these races, trying to figure it out, trying to put a game plan together, try to stay above.
Waiting for their Stockholm moment.
Waiting for the moment, because back then they used to have A races, B races, and C races. I remember in Zurich one year, I was in maybe the C race or the B race. It wasn't the main race with Akabusi and Amadou Diaba and Edwin and those guys. I was in the race when I was in the race with all the Swiss guys, and maybe some Italian guys, right? But it wasn't the A race.
No.
So as a runner, running, I would say consistently in the 48s, it was always, we always had opportunity to watch the greats run, and then we'll get out there and try to do our best and figure it out. So, but that was always the case. And now I have an opportunity being here. That's been my vision. That's been like the spectacles I've been looking for.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you here in Stockholm. Being in the Nordics, 400-meter hurdles, for men at least, has been really dominated by the US for so many years.
Exactly.
Or for the Americas, we could say, including like the Caribbean and South America.
Yeah.
For so many years. But now, the Europeans really have emerged on a different level. We spoke about Femke Bol, but we need to, of course, to address Karsten Warholm, because being from the Nordics, from the most prominent winter sport country in the world.
You think of the javelin, you think of throws, you think of high jumper, the jumpers.
Completely different kind of events.
I think of folks like Klæbo in cross country skiing. When you think of Nordic, because they were mentioning about Turku in Finland.
Yeah.
And that was always a big long jump meet. Yeah, back in the day. Because I remember Mike Powell and those guys used to always come up, go there and participate. But Carson definitely took the flag.
Yeah, and just planted it.
And planted it, and we were all just sit there and go, okay.
Yeah. But what are your views? Should it? Of course, it's possible because he's done it, but he's the anomaly here. Kind of, it's only him from the Nordics. He's so far ahead from anyone else from this region of the world.
But it inspires those who live here. It's like you mentioned, watching Edwin run and do his thing. He was my inspiration to want to become a better hurdler, and for him to set the measuring stick, the meter, the mark so high, we were all challenged to run as fast and as best as we possibly can in order to reach that peak. So when I did it, I kind of like, because everybody didn't think anybody was going to run under 47
No.
seconds. That was
No.
that 47:02, we just knew it was etched in stone at the time.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
the limit.
that was the limit,
Yeah,
right?
it was.
And respectfully, you go, okay, well, that's the great Edwin Moses. But then when I broke it, I think when I broke it, it kind of shocked a lot of people.
Mm.
But the record itself, this is what did not happen. After I broke the record, you really didn't see much about, Kevin doing this or Kevin doing that. But the beauty of that is the real fan base here in Europe, they knew what I've done over the years, so they really appreciate it. But back home,
Yeah.
Back home, I was always still, if you're with Edwin Moses, regardless if you ran the world record, you're still not Edwin Moses.
No.
But in my group, my circle, always respected, always had a good time. But like I said, I definitely enjoyed it being my record.
Yeah.
Because I got an opportunity for people to say my name at that point in time. I had asked Carson a question in the press conference, because one of the feelings in which I had was, when you're growing up and you're flipping through all the programs and you're flipping through all the, you go to the different track meets and you see world record, you see meet record. So you have the two different numbers.
Yeah.
Every meet you'll go to, they'll post up and the programs will have the meeting, and it will always be 47:02.
Yeah.
And that was just the nature of the sport. And then when I broke the record, and then going to all the Diamond League meets, and everybody, when they print the programs, you go to the page, and my name and my record was always there for 29 years.
Yeah.
And so I can't even, I'm always patting myself on the back because of that.
But the time now is sub 46 for the world record. Sub 46 is
45,
45.94, right?
94.
In that Olympic race.
The crazy thing is he did that literally. I had 70 to 80,000 people screaming and losing their mind about me running as fast as I did. Carson was there, and it was the COVID protocols and all that, and they had the cutouts of the fans in the bleachers, because they didn't have anybody in the stands to watch the athletes.
Yeah, it was empty.
And I thought that was such an amazing performance by all three of the guys, And then when Carson leaves up out of there with the 45.9, everybody was like,
yeah. It's just birds come flying in because everyone's mouth is just open. And even now, when you think about it, I mean, it hasn't changed. I think I love the fact that he's consistently trying to, want to break his record. Yeah. And now, knowing the talent that his top two competitors have, you see that battle going back and forth. So it's not all about the times.
It's not. It's actually, I like especially when you hear these guys talk about it, everybody just wants to execute because they know what they've done. I'm glad. And now it really isn't about trying to beat Carson.
No.
It's about how to run with him. Because you can't beat Carson running like Carson. You got to beat, Rye's going to have to try to beat those guys running like Rye and utilizing the talents in which we know he has visually. And the same thing with DeSantos. This guy's like a 2 meters legs like that, super long, great hurler, both legs. So as someone who watches the race intrinsically, I really get a big kick out of what's going to happen. I mean, even the races they just had in Oslo with the 300, I had gotten questioned about who did I think the winner is going to be, and I was all over the place because I couldn't. In my head, I really couldn't figure out who was going to. I mean, I knew Carson had the leg up, as we would say, because he consistently has been, has raced 300 races, and he has a certain pace and attack that he has, something that Rye's not used to, and something in which I'm sure that DeSantos is not used to, because I'm sure they haven't been prepping for a 300. Not that explosive. And another thing is, a lot of those other 2 and 3, which is Rye and DeSantos, they're running rhythmically. And not to say Carson isn't, but we've seen Carson take, his strategies. Gun goes off, I'm going with it, right? And we have a saying in the U.S.,
Yeah.
An old children's story called the gingerbread man. And the one scene in the book is, catch me if you can. That means he's running. If you're going to catch him, you gotta chase him down.
Yeah.
And that's just been Carson's strategy. And that's crazy too, because one of the strategies in which our training strategy from our coaches in those decades were, we trained like 800-meter runners.
Yeah.
We did a lot of back end, quarter miler work, a lot of
To make it all the way on the
to
home
have the
stretch.
endurance to make it of the home stretch. And we also, it was one of those situations where you never really exhausted yourself the first 200 meters. You kind of ran plan, knowing that, on the back end, the fatigue is going to settle in,
Yeah.
and you got to be able to execute. Because one thing is running all out. Another thing is when you're jumping over these barriers and you're landing on the ground and your energy is just being sucked into the track. And so as a former runner, I'm constantly calculating. I'm watching Ryan do his thing. I'm watching DeSanto do his thing. I'm watching Carson do it. So I'm looking at all the pieces in real time when they're participating, and I'm like, okay, no, what's going to happen? Because what typically happens in the hurdles that the athletes typically think about, your competitors are going to run and be breathing down your throat, but you don't know if you're going to hit that doggone hurdle.
Yeah.
And it's always, when you're running, it's always the hurdle that you really worry about. Am I going to get over the barrier without clipping it? Stumbling it, chopping it.
Yeah.
That's
Keeping the rhythm,
keeping the rhythm.
steps.
That's your biggest enemy, is trying to be as smooth as you possibly can. So that's what I look and I see in these athletes. Say, okay, because even if these guys, everybody's attempting to run fast, but when they don't, they know during the course of that race they're working on something that they need to work on.
Yeah.
Oslo, this is Rye's first competition of the season, and it being a 300-meter race in which, and what I learned within the international race of 300 is it's a different 300-meter race in which I was raised upon. When I ran in high school, and even to this day, the 300-meter hurdle race has 8 hurdles. And then you only have 15 meters from the last hurdle to the finish line. And so I remember talking with Carson, prior to we were kind of like powwowing all together underneath the day before the big race.
Yeah.
I think we had a press conference.
Yeah.
And Carson knows the makeup of the race. It's 50 meters out of the blocks to the first hurdle for them to make the adjustment. And they removed the hurdle to make it 7 hurdles.
Yeah.
So can you imagine being a hurdler, used to the sequence of the hurdles being where they are every 35 meters and it being a certain number. And now they take a hurdle, but they expand the distance. And obviously as a hurdler, you train for knowing that the first hurdle to the blocks is 45 meters. Your stride pattern it's indicative of your stride pattern. You're getting out of the block, setting your blocks, and make sure you get to the first hurdle
in your spine.
with your dominant leg, and momentum, right? So if you've been doing that for the past 5 or 6 years, now all of a sudden that changes. I mean, in a big race, and you may only have maybe a week or 2 to kind of figure that out. It really truly is up in the air what your performance is going to be. So I was really I told everybody, or those guys, I said, well, what I do expect is a world record. I don't know which one of you guys will get it, but there's going to be a world record. But the favorite will have to be Carson, because he's the current world record holder, and he knows the sequence of that race far more better than the other 2 competitors. But I believe, just kind of talking to those guys, they all, DeSantos and Ryan got a kick out of running the race.
Yeah.
I saw the look in their eyes, even the conversations in which they were having, because they didn't, those 2 guys, they didn't know what the hell. They were like, okay, I know what I've been working on, but you never know when you're next to the world record holder. Yeah. Anything that you train for is kind of out the door.
Yeah,
it's out of the way. You try to figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
And even during the course of the race, I missed the race. I missed the actual full race because I was going to be in the award presentation. And
wow.
So of course, I was, and I wasn't in the infield, obviously. I was with the athletes on the track underneath the stadium, watching the monitor. And I'm doing a countdown because Steiner was saying, well, be there 10 minutes. And you don't realize how fast those minutes go by when you have
it just flies by.
a production like this. I remember watching the race, and then there was a countdown, and I'm trying to literally run from downstairs to upstairs through an exit, wrong exit, running back down, running out the building, jumping over a metal barrier to another door, to go back downstairs, to go into a door that didn't have an automatic lock that you go out. You actually, the person on the other side of the door, if they're paying attention. The woman saw me running around. She saw me come back downstairs, and she waved, and she came and opened up the door for me. And I was able to get onto the field and get out there. And by that time, Carson had just went by me real quick.
Yeah.
And then, of course, everybody is standing, so I had to get through the crowd. And then I get onto the track, and everybody's just kind of looking around at the big screen trying to figure out what had just happened. And I was like, I just missed it. I said, well, the good thing is
You missed the race.
I missed the race. But I could watch the replay.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I watched the replay, and I was like, wow, that's nice. That's really nice. And
yeah, it was a great race.
It was history.
Yeah.
And I got to be part of it.
Yeah.
And see, that's one thing. And in retrospect, I go, when all those great races between Phillips and Edmund and all that, I may have been in some of those races, but historically, I was never really mentioned in those races. But even, put it this way, I'm more mentioned now, or at least I'm finding out, for the simple fact that these guys are just running so fast, and everything is being compared
to your time,
to what my time was in the length, for that time being, for that record lasting as long as it had. So. But I love it.
What is your view on the 300-meter hurdles as an event?
I think it'll be a growing interest. I think it's long enough and fast enough, because there's already a 300-meter interest in the race in the States through the school system. Like a lot of, I know on the West Coast where I grew up in California, that's our targeted event for intermediate hurlers. On the East Coast, New York and other places, they run 400-meter hurdles. But folks on the West Coast, we are locked in a 300-meter hurdle race while in high school. And I never got introduced to the 4 hurdles until I got to college.
Okay.
And then once I got to college, it was like, oh, wow, this is crazy.
It's similar to here in Sweden, actually. We have 300-meter hurdles as well for the youth events.
So my transition was just that. It was a transition with the extra 100 meters and trying to figure out the step pattern, stride pattern, and all that sort of stuff. And then, I think that the 300 hurdle event was a great event. And it was funny because I listened to those guys talk about, okay, of course you have Carson, the world record holder in the 4 and the 3, and you have DeSantos as the record holder, I think, in the 200-meter hurdles. So they have their own little space and time. And Rye is like the dominant 200-meter runner. And to be honest with you, we're all just waiting.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's something that the 400-meter hurdle audience never really had,
The duels and like different.
Yeah. Because back in the day, Edwin would run races and be on one side of Europe, in his meet, as the headliner at a big race, and then everybody else was running around other places, enjoying themselves and running races. So it was really hard. Only in the huge meets, Velclass, possibly here, that organizers were able to, get these athletes to show up and race and run against one another. I think they did a standout job, of course, in Oslo as well as here in Stockholm, to get these guys to meet up. Because a lot of times, one thing about this group of athletes, they are not afraid to get in, to line up against each other. And the era in which when I was running, Edwin was very race specific. He knew how he wanted his season to go, so he kind of charted his and like you should have charted his races accordingly, so he'll be at peak performance and condition for the majors. Whereas everybody else was just trying to find a hurdle race to get into and run and have an opportunity. But things have evolved, and that's interesting. And I'm watching it. We're all watching it.
Yeah, so it brings interest.
A lot of interest.
If we take yourself, Carsten, and Ray, and break down a lap 400-meter hurdle race by every 100 meters. I mean, you maybe compare it according to hurdles, but could we take it in by the 100 meter by 100 meter?
Yeah.
So the first 100 meter, you, Carsten, or Ray, Who would you give that one to?
The first 100?
The first 100?
Those two guys, my thing in the hurdles was, say for instance, even the first 45 meters.
Yeah.
So I'm going, just getting out of the blocks.
Yeah.
My thing was, put it this way, me getting out of the blocks of the first hurdle, first 45 meters, I've always ran between 5.8 and 6 seconds.
Yeah.
And six seconds was the sweet spot. I knew if I can get to the hurdle in 6 seconds and under, I'll be okay with my leg repetition.
Yeah.
But then these guys aren't running anywhere from 5.7 to 6 seconds to the first hurdle. They're running 5.5 seconds to the first hurdle.
It's like half a second.
5.4 seconds to the first hurdle. And that is really blowing my mind as how fast they are getting out, because we were just so conservative, because we trained that way to not exhaust ourselves. We thought that we would be exhausted. Well, we were exhausted and dead tired when we did shit like that. However, watching these guys, just the gun goes off and they blaze.
It's just something else.
It is something else. Like I said, when I mentioned you earlier in 2019, when I saw Ryan Carson running Zurich, and I'm looking at them break the wall, literally from step down to step down, I'm like, oh, wow. I was just saying, it's going to be faster than 46.78. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
But how much faster it's going to be? And that's what I was anticipating as they got around the track. So first 100 meters, it'll be, I got to get out to Carson.
Yeah. Carson takes the first 100.
Carson probably takes the first 150.
Yeah. Yeah, because coming out on the backstretch, you have the straights. Are you giving that to yourself, Carsten, or Rye? The backstretch.
The backstretch coming home, last few hurdles.
No.
You mean
the second parts.
I'm wondering. I'm
200.
trying to think. The next 100.
Yeah. So between 100 meters and 200 meters.
So you're talking the third hurdle? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I might have to get out to Carson too.
Yeah. So Carson takes all the first 200 meters.
He takes the first 200. He does.
Yeah. Does something happen?
I'm not relegating Ryan.
No.
I just hadn't seen him do it.
Yeah.
And not to say he can't, because somebody with sub 20-second foot speed on the flat, in my head, reasonably, can easily do that.
Yes.
It just hasn't been done. And that's my anticipation to see that happen.
Yeah.
And how everybody's going to bounce back from that. We haven't seen it. So that kind of makes the anticipation.
Yeah. It makes it more exciting, because
more exciting
there could be more.
It's more left on the. It's so much just left there.
Yeah.
that we anticipate of seeing. I know I do. Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I really enjoy watching those guys go out there and do what they have to do.
Yeah, we love it too. So, the bend.
The bend. Oh,
between 200 meters and 300 meters. Remember, you have yourself here in the pod as well.
Oh, okay. Let me see.
So you have yourself, Ray, and Carsten. So if you combine the best possible race. So we have Carsten for the first 200.
Carsten for the first 200.
Is it Carsten for the?
I'll put myself in the turn. I'll put myself in the turn from 6 to 8.
Yeah.
From 6 to 8, and
kind of striding into the home stretch.
Right, because at this point in time, with my knowing what these guys are capable of doing, because I would extend the 12 steps a little bit further to a point where I would probably try to throw an 11 step in there just to break out of the box and do something that I've never
to push the boundaries.
To push the boundaries, exactly. And I would definitely do that and crash and burn doing it, but it'll be something to be done.
Yeah.
Coming off the last hurdle.
Yeah, going on the home stretch, the fourth part, the last 100 meters.
Probably Rye.
Right, yeah.
At this point in time. I've been watching Rye over the years. And I've been trying to chart what he's been doing. It's been a little bit difficult being here in Europe watching, because I'm always consistently watching, the Carson race here. And I really don't know what Rye is doing back at home.
No.
But finding out, like even over the years in which he was running exceptionally well and fast, he always had some sort of injury.
Yeah.
You know, and then, you know, once you have an injury, you have a mental block. It's like, damn, am I ever going to get healthy enough to go out there and run what my potential is? And a lot of times you can see that in this. I saw.
Or am I going to get hurt again?
I saw that in his performances, you know, or even after he raced against Carson, I could see a lot of introspection that he had did and reevaluate his own personal performances. And I can understand that. And I actually knew it was going to be a big difference in 2024 in that Olympic year when those competitors all got together. The wild card will always be Dos Santos.
Yeah.
You know, and like I say, he's young. He's figuring it out as well,
Yeah.
and he's still making adjustments in his gait and his stride and his. Yeah. And then, like I said, you got to take into account everybody's getting injured.
Yep.
You just got to make sure you don't get injured at the wrong time. You know, when it really counts. But I remember watching Rye. He was cycling. He was riding bicycles throughout L.A., you know, going on these long 10, 15K bike rides through the mountains and stuff. And I said, oh my God, this guy's lungs are going to be so big. He's going to have great capacity, recovery. And you add that with his speed, and you mesh that together, you know, we're going to see some good things. And sure enough, he ran very well last year, and I was happy for him, you know. And it actually, I saw it changed the nature of his running, because he was a guy who, as exceptional as he was running, he did not like taking second place.
No.
He did not like it, and you can read. You know, he didn't have a poker face at all.
No.
When he was taking second place,
No.
and he wasn't acting nasty and nothing like I've seen. You know, one of my favorite athletes is Danny Harris.
Yeah.
Now, Danny Harris was an athlete that he will beat you in the race, curse you out on the track, you know, curse you out. You know, I came out here, I beat you. Your mama was there in the blocks, I beat her too, blah, 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 blah. Spitting fire and brimstone.
Yeah.
But he was only that way on the track.
On the track, with a different person off track.
Oh, and I see, you know, I see each and every one of them lock into their own, you know, they put the blinders on and they lock in and say, okay, this is what I'm doing and when I'm ready. So it's a far contrast to what I've watched and experienced growing up. Yeah. Edwin was always isolated by himself. Yeah. Danny was always somewhere in the corner talking shit. Philip and Dre was always locked in what he was doing. But Dre was actually, when I first started competing, Andre was the hurdler that was always hurt up until '88 Olympics. And when he figured his body out, his injuries and all that, then of course we saw the 47-18 performance in Seoul. And so, as someone in the backseat watching him train at UCLA and watching, you know, the mystique of the great Edwin Moses, and then somewhere me finally figuring out, getting my way in it, I love the fact that I can sit back and watch these guys figure this race out, because hurdles is definitely an evolving, developing event, not only for us as spectators as we watch the participants do their thing, but definitely for the athletes who are trying to figure out, because you know that race is just so strategic. Yep. You know, timing is everything, not only while you're running, but as well as approaching those hurdles. You know, most importantly, approaching those hurdles, making sure your left or right leg is there, and you're strong enough to get over that barrier and make it happen. But I embrace it. I embrace the fact that I have this great opportunity to watch these young men do what they have to do, or watch them do what they love to do. Yeah.
Because they're really loving it. Yeah. They wouldn't turn up for this rivalry if they didn't like it.
Yeah, exactly. I've been places where, you know, expectations for certain athletes to show up and they wouldn't show up or did not show up. Their plans changed along the way. Yeah. So these guys are just, oh, are you there? All right, okay.
I'll be there too.
I'll be there. Mm-hmm. that sort of, and this, you know, we always say this is a cliche at this point in time. Yep. The sports needs that. Yeah. It really does. It really does. We need the rivalries. We need the setups. We need our own anticipation to fuel this. Yeah. And I'm extremely happy that the 400-meter hurdlers, they kind of get it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, because how can track and field build more on this? Because as we in this podcast has cemented before, there are things to do. Mm-hmm. Because the rivalries can be built in a better way. Is that your view too?
Always. It's always been my view.
Yeah.
It's always been my view. And I know that's one of the things I'm sure that the meet directors of these organizations, they have issues with. Because like I said, in the past, you had guys ducking and avoiding one another, or just for the simple fact that it wasn't as profitable for them to, especially if the athletes are there in the States and they have to travel here and no one wants to come and perform poor, you know, especially if you just got off a plane and you've been sitting on the train and all that, but no one's making, you know, and guys will definitely, individuals will definitely making excuses for those simple things, and they will be accepted, you know, rightfully so. Legs are dead and tired, you've been on the plane, you know, you're 6'4", but you're in the economy seat, you're cramped up, right? So we've been in spaces where you're like, so those things come into account. But you know, I think, well, watch these guys engage these days. It's an incredible feat, and them to actually have enough meets along, you know, within the Diamond League for us to see those. And another thing is just watching the way they set it up with the meetings that are there in China.
Yeah,
you know, that's a long ride for everybody to get. I haven't been to China yet, but the fact that you get athletes that are willing to take that long journey to race and run against one another. Even I think Carson ran with a 400 meter there, if I'm not mistaken. And so, and that's early in the season too. That's like May.
Yes, it's May, like end of April almost. Yeah,
exactly. So, as a purist of the sport, you look at those things because no one really wants to go out and try to burn that much rubber that early in the season. You gradually want, you know, after, you know, so you can imagine traveling so, you know, this long.
And the Worlds is in September as well this year.
It's late. I mean,
it's a half a year.
And so now think about, you're right, to your point. All these years. When were the Olympics in Tokyo? They were
21.
They were in what month?
Yeah. Oh, month.
August? Late August?
It was late August.
Late August, right? I remember when I ran in Seoul, it was in late September, October.
Yeah.
In Korea in '88, around that time. So I remember I had a birthday. Yeah. And then we were in the village in Seoul. So, you know, timing wise and fitness wise, you look at those sort of things. But now, the traveling, the competition.
Yeah. Trying to keep it global as well.
Exactly. So it's a lot of, you know, everybody has their share of things that they're trying to figure out. But like the sport itself is in good hands. And the good thing is you got younger hurdlers that are seeing what they are going to have to accomplish in order to be at that level. Yeah. So it pushes the coaches to make sure their athletes are sharp. Because like I said, Carson had rewritten the book on the attitude and running in that hurdle race in the beginning. I mean, like I said, in the past, the fastest person I remember running to the first hurdle was Danny Harris. Done with golf, he would bolt out.
He was the first hurdler immediately.
Immediately, you know. But now the norm. Yeah.
The norm is to blast it.
It's sub 6 seconds to the first hurdle for those guys. The crazy thing about it is, when you look at the makeup of the race, the athletes tell themselves, well, even if they got to the first hurdle at 5.5 seconds, they're going to lose a lot along the way. So hopefully you're in the right position to make a move on these guys and close up that gap. Yeah. That had always been the way in which the hurdlers, and I can just talk about myself.
Yeah, because gaps can close real fast.
Especially when you got a guy going 12 steps at one point. You know,
then 5 meters isn't that much.
Not much at all. I mean, because think about a guy with a DeSantos probably has a damn near 10 meters, you know, all out, at least 9 meters when he's jumping over the hurdle and landing on the other side, say 8.5. And Carson doesn't have that, but he has the frequency, and that's what he does better than everybody. His frequency is like pop, 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 pop. He just keeps going. You know.
Talk about you. You have said you live in Europe.
Yeah,
you live in Switzerland.
I live in Switzerland of all places. Yeah, I never thought I'd be living in Switzerland.
Yeah, why Switzerland?
My wife's Swiss.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I was studying here and then reconnected with an old girlfriend and ended up marrying her because I figured after COVID, I got that COVID love. Yeah. You know, it's like you might love somebody and hold on to them because you never know. Yeah. You know.
Yeah, I mean, I got a dog after COVID, so it's got kind of the same effect.
Yo, it is. Yo, we have. I'm a dog lover. We have a family Labrador and 2 cats.
Oh wow.
And the dog is definitely my best friend. Yeah. Definitely my best friend. Go on long walks. I talk to the dog, and the dog actually talks back to me. Yeah. Gives me a lot of clarity.
Yeah. Yeah, no matter the day, they always
Doesn't
bring up
matter.
the mood.
They're there, you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be in some real pissy moods and the dog would do something. It's like I'm in a pissy mood. Next thing you know, I'm picking up a pile of crap, and and you just have to laugh at yourself. You got issues, and you walking around,
Yeah.
you know, picking up poo. You know? But yeah, it's garnered me a different perspective, definitely, on track and field.
Yeah.
Because I'll be honest with you. Well, people say be honest with you. The driving force of athletics to me in the U.S. is collegiate athletics.
Oh,
Because you
yeah.
consistently have the track meets for the college kids. And then you just have these, you know, international wise or elite wise, you just have just a few meets. You got, you know, and a few meets that athletes, you know, a certain number of athletes are invited to these meets, elite athletes. So you may have, of course, the Nike meet, the Prefontaine, Drake relays in Des Moines.
Yeah.
And think about it. You got relays that kind of, if you are an individual event person, you won't typically get invited to, I mean, I've never ran intermediate hurdles at Penn relays,
No.
but I've raced a 4x4 at Penn relays. I've never raced at all during my career at the Drake relays in Des Moines. And that's a big meet because I've actually watched Vershawn Jackson do very well in his career at the Drake relays. And then typically we're on the West Coast, so we'll just typically stay on the West Coast. We'll probably go as far as, maybe Texas will probably be at any point in time, be the furthest we go, but we'll go to, of course, Arizona and run all throughout Arizona. And then, of course, whatever meets that we have in Los Angeles or in California, either from San Diego, LA, up the coast to, you know, the Bay Area, up into Oregon and even maybe Washington. But like I said, the everything is on the collegiate system as I view it. And it's not until you get over to Europe that you find all these meets and all these other different crazy places, and you go, okay. And that's the beauty of it. Once you get here, you say, I get to, you know, go to Oslo, go to Norway, go to Italy, you know, go to Switzerland.
To different kind of worlds.
Totally is different kind of world. And then you tell yourself, and I personally, I just pinch myself and say, damn, I'm doing all this because I'm running around the silly circle, as we called it. Track has allowed me to have this particular opportunity. And that was actually the big catalyst when I had the opportunity to become a member of Santa Monica Track Club. I got invited to be on the club after my sophomore season at UCLA, after I took second place behind the silver medalist from the '84 Olympics, Danny Harris. And I remember a point in my career when I first started running, that was the highlight.
Yeah.
1986, racing against Danny Harris. Because he's a California kid like myself, maybe a year older than me. He was always, in my eyes, a California legend in the intermediates. And then to have the opportunity to watch him in the Olympics in '84 at home, and then to participate with him in college. Yeah,
just 2 years later from that Olympic race.
People don't realize, well, they wouldn't realize, they wouldn't know, but my story is this. I was a jumper. This little skinny kid, loved to jump. I long jump and triple jump, and I wanted to be a high hurdler. Yeah. Not an intermediate hurdler, but once you become a hurdler in high school, you do hurdles. Yeah. So you run the highs and you're running the 300 hurdles. Yeah. And my emphasis was always on the high hurdles. So when I saw my improvements within the high hurdles. Let me take my cap off. Yeah. Within the high hurdles. And so what ended up happening was, that was my focus. And when I got to the university, I was maybe 5 or 6 hurdles down the line of our high hurdle at the university. Yeah. And so I was racing my heart out, but I was winning. And it wasn't until I made the shift to the intermediates that I became to come within myself and become more victorious and be more responsible of what I was doing in training and having a reason to be out there on the track. Because early on in the season, when I was racing, the first year actually when I was at UCLA, you know, I'm like maybe the 4th at best the 4th best high hurdler at the university or in my class. And then you got young guys coming in after I did who had faster times while they were in high school. So it was always one of those situations. But once I was able to make the transition with the help of John Smith, because he saw the talent in me that I didn't see. And John being a Olympian, the 440-yard dash world record holder to this day, he saw something in me that I didn't see within myself.
No.
Him and a few other the coaches, and then we were actually apply what I garnered within the high hurdles, and then I figured out that once you click those bad boys down 6 inches,
Something clicked.
Something clicked. It became a whole different. I garnered a whole different attitude.
Yeah.
And obviously my training changed, but the simple fact that I was actually able to run, because when I realized when I was in college, even as a high hurdler, I did not learn how to run the high hurdles.
Mm.
My stride length was way too long. When you watch Grant and those guys, they know how to attack and get onto the ground, and and then I was always long off the hurdle, and that second was long gathered, and I'm reaching too much, and I never figured out that rhythm. I mean, you get the 3-step rhythm because it's just a timing thing, but you don't get the sharpness. I never developed the sharpness that you see these guys have in driving the knee up and sweeping the trail under the arm and stepping down and getting back. I was always in the air too dang on long.
Yeah.
I was never on the track.
Need to get back on the ground.
And then it became a lot easier for me in the intermediates because I had a 37-inch inseam, so I can literally actually just stand over the hurdle without even touching it, by so much. So you can imagine if you're running as tall as I am on the balls of your feet, you're running tall, I just literally just needed to drive the knee up and drive it back down, and I figured that out along the way. And in those episodes leading up into, I would say, to the Olympic Games, it was in my mind, every step has been charted to that point. And I was just so grateful to piece it all together in Barcelona, and make that happen. So I look up on my track and field career, it's been completed multiple times because I look where I started and where I ended up. And then the fact that I even know that my impact on the sport was a lot greater than I expected to be.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a basketball star. That wasn't the case. That wasn't the case at all. But track and field is, like I said, allowed me to travel to many great places around this planet.
Got you to Switzerland in the end.
It definitely got me to Switzerland. It's funny, Greg, because you know how it is with athletics. You travel to these cities and you're on a train, a plane, a coach, and you just to the next one.
Yeah.
And you never get to see the stuff that the residents of these countries would love for you to see.
Yeah.
Because you're in and out.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I came here, I got an opportunity to not only just be in Switzerland, but to get on the train or fly to Paris and fly to Italy and go to different cities that and just be there overnight and not necessarily be a track athlete, but being a tourist or somebody just kind of see things that I hadn't had an opportunity to see. Always wanted to, but you just didn't have the time to do it.
Yeah, and the focus and all that.
Exactly. And especially when you're starting to run very well. I remember when I was a member of SMTC and I would just watch Carl. Carl was, the top athlete in the world. And I'm watching the adulation in which this was given to him, in which he earned. And just see him at the press interviews and the press conferences, and then the way we were treated, the liaisons in which we've had getting off the plane. Because I remember those situations, being a member of that club with SMTC, the fact that, Carl actually did a lot for me as an individual athlete, being that he was a draw to these organizations, to these meets, that he would have our manager, Joe Douglas, or someone say, well, we need Kevin to be on the track with Edwin and those guys.
Yeah.
And then the meet organizer may have balked at it, but he said, well, okay, I'll give him lane 8 or lane 1, but he'll be in the race.
Yeah.
And, Matt, that's great. We just want him in the race. And because they knew and understood that you have to be in with the big guys in order to kind of get your timing, get everything together, your mind together. So I've had that opportunity. And that is just the beauty of our sport, especially when you get better at something, knowing that you work very hard for it.
Yeah. It's so cool. We are so grateful that you took this great amount of time to speak with us on our Swedish Track and Talk podcast in this special episode. I hope Stockholm is treating you well.
Yeah, I got to find me a modern art gallery and some graffiti, and I'll be fine. So I'm going to leave here today to do a little looking for what's going on. Exploration on the street art. I mean, you see it anywhere and everywhere. Just got to find the right corner. Or I'm gonna go Google it and find out. Oh, okay, this is where it's happening. But there's so many beautiful sites in this area. It's amazing. It is amazing. Because, like I said, we'll come in, fly in, and go to the hotel. Only thing we know about is getting in the bus, from the bus to the track.
Yeah, to the
running
room.
around back to the room, going down, have something to eat, and going somewhere else. At least we're here. And I think, to be honest with you, I've watched. I'm sitting back watching everybody.
Yeah.
And looking what the athletes are doing, and I've never seen. Well, I'm witnessing. Let me just say that I'm witnessing these guys really enjoy themselves in these places. Seeing them smile and laugh. I was like, hey, I remember I used to do that.
And that makes you happy.
Oh, it makes me seriously happy, and that's why people be like, "You look like you're having a good time." I tell them, I said, first, I'm in my own head right now, reminiscing. That's the biggest part. Reminiscing about my opportunity to come in here and run and participate, and I'm enjoying myself watching them be themselves, and I'm laughing at them as well, because I'm saying to myself, 5, 10, 15 years from now, when the running has stopped at that level in which they're participating in, what are going to be their memories of themselves coming to these cities? Because I'm always reflecting on what mine are, even to this day. That's why when I go out, one thing they haven't really truly experienced the horde of autograph seekers that used to be in the hotels. They used to be in the lobby of the hotels. It would be 50 people. We're signing, trying our best to record and sign autographs. And then, of course, you get athletes trying to duck and dodge the autograph seeker. And that's par for the course. It goes without saying. But the beauty of it is, when years later, and these same individuals come, case in point, I've come to meetings, and you have fans of the sport come up to me with a folder, and they have all these pictures that a photographer may have taken and may have gotten online, but they find photographs and stuff that you've never seen, because you're the point of the lens, and I'm going, wow, where did you get that picture? Oh my goodness! And I end up signing tons and tons of autographs. And even this morning when I was walking outside in the sunlight, I got reacquainted with old fans. They were like, Kevin, I met you back in, and I'm like, first of all, I typically want to meet you first. Let me shake your hand. I'm Kevin Young. A formal, a formal greeting. So the next time we see each other, you won't be like, well, I wonder if you remember me or not, because I'm bad at names. But I'm good at faces. I'm like, I know I've seen you somewhere. I may screw your name up, but I know what the energy is that we had in our interaction that we've had, and it's very positive. So I met a few people this morning that was the case. And a little familiarity in some of the faces, right? But then you got folks who said, I was 10 years old at the meet with my dad. I met a guy. I guess he's part of Mondo's family, right? Because he's here from the States, from Louisiana. He's from his dad's side, the Duplantis side. And he told me, it was beautiful. He says, Kevin, he said, I remember your race at the 1987 NCAA championships. And I said, that was my very first NCAA victory.
Oh, wow.
Because the first time I participated,
that's great memories.
1986, I was a second place behind Danny. Then the following 2 years, I was NCAA champion. And so the first one I won was in LSU on their campus, where he said he was on campus, and he was, I think he was on the hurdle crew, putting out the hurdles. And he said he has a picture when he was young, a kid, well, maybe a teenager. I'm not, no, because I was in college. He was
around 10 years old, maybe.
He said he has a picture with him with the bib on, showcase that he's there to help with the meet. And I think there's a picture his dad had taken of him. And he said, I was there at your race when you ran. in 1987. And I'm going, wow, he remembers that. And like my biggest fondest memory of 87 was when I won my very first NCAA championships. But the biggest thing was Edwin got beat by Danny.
Yeah.
And, Danny broke Edwin's streak that weekend. Because it was, NCAA that day was what, 3-4 day meet.
Mm.
And then, of course, Danny and Edwin were in Europe running, doing their thing. And Danny beats Edwin in Madrid. And Edwin's streak is ended. And I'm like, that was the big news story. I was like, wow, Edwin's streak got broken. Yeah. Oh, man. And like I said, but I was going to go after that streak on that.
Yeah,
I'm the NCAA champion this year, so I had to put all that to the side. And like those are the memories in which I have personally. So I think that's and for everybody who participates in our sport, that's the beauty of it, knowing where you were at a certain place and point in time that you can remember, because it goes by so fast. Like we looked up, and now I was 29 years as being a world record holder. I had no idea that the record was going to last that long. No idea. And I'm grateful that it has. Yeah. And I'm grateful that after so many years, because think about it, it would have been easy for me just to break the world record. Well, break the world record and they just sweep it under the rug, or just time goes on. But the fact that these guys have been running as fast as they do, and I've been able to be around them. Yeah. And soak up that energy in which they do have. And I'm realizing they've done a great job for the event itself, let alone the sport. Yeah. You guys like Mondo and Carson and all these, the male and female athletes are just phenomenal. Yeah.
They do a great job, and so do you, being an ambassador for the sport as well. We're very thankful to have you here.
Gustav, I appreciate you reaching out to me and allow me to, to be on you guys' podcast, So much has changed over the years with technology. We're able to kind of do this.
Exactly.
So it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.